Just one single night of bad sleep can mess with your performance as much as being legally drunk. It's pretty wild when you think about it. So today, we're going way beyond the usual tips you've heard a million times. We're going to dive straight into the hard science of sleep. We'll unpack the hidden dangers of not getting enough rest and give you a real evidence-based toolkit to finally take back your nights.
So, let's just start with a really simple question. Think about this morning when you woke up. Did you feel awesome, refreshed, and just ready to go? Or was it, a total struggle with the snooze button? For literally millions of us, that groggy, grumpy feeling is just normal. But it's not just a bad mood. It's actually a signal.
Yeah, that feeling, it's way more than just a little inconvenience. It's a flashing warning light. And that brings us right into our first section, the hidden cost of sleep. And I'm not just talking about feeling a bit tired. We're talking about the really serious, long-term health problems that pile up when we don't get the rest our bodies are screaming for.
I mean, decades of research have painted this incredibly clear and honestly pretty alarming picture. A long-term sleep deficit isn't about needing an extra coffee. Nope, it's a direct threat to both your physical and your mental health. Let's look at some of the numbers, and they are staggering. We'll start with the engine of your body, your heart.
Okay, get this. A huge study found that if you're an insomniac getting less than 6 hours a night, you're looking at a 3.5 times greater risk of developing high blood pressure. And why is that? Well, without proper sleep, your body just stays on high alert. It's pumping out stress hormones, which puts this relentless pressure on your heart and your whole cardiovascular system, night after night after night.
And the link to our mental health? It's just as strong. A really important study showed that people with a history of insomnia were four times more likely to develop major depression. You see, sleep isn't just about resting your body. It's when your brain gets to work processing emotions and locking in memories. It is absolutely essential for keeping us emotionally balanced and resilient.
Have you ever noticed that you always seem to catch a cold after a really stressful, sleepless week? Well, that is not a coincidence. Researchers literally exposed people to a cold virus, and what they found was that those sleeping less than 7 hours were almost 3 times more likely to get sick. Your immune system is literally rebuilding its army while you're asleep. Skimp on that, and you're leaving the gates wide open.
Now, the long-term impact on our brains, this one is probably the most sobering of all. A massive review of 27 different studies found that people with ongoing sleep problems were almost 1.7 times as likely to develop cognitive impairment or even Alzheimer's disease. See, during deep sleep, your brain has this amazing cleaning crew that comes in and washes away all these toxic proteins. So the really crucial takeaway here is that making sleep a priority isn't just about feeling good tomorrow, it's about protecting your brain for decades to come.
Okay, so we've laid out all the serious risks. But here is the good news. This is not some kind of life sentence. We actually have the power to change it. And that brings us to our next section, evidence-based sleep hygiene. This is your actionable, science-backed toolkit for truly reclaiming your nights.
So what in the world is sleep hygiene? No, it's not about taking a shower before bed. It's basically a collection of behaviors and environmental tweaks, things you do and settings you create that are scientifically proven to help you get consistent, high-quality, restorative sleep. It's really all about being intentional about your rest.
But here's an important little detail. This is from a 2024 review in PubMed. The term sleep hygiene can sometimes be a little fuzzy. Different studies might include different recommendations, and that lack of consistency can be really confusing for all of us. And that is exactly why we are going to break it down into its core agreed-upon parts.
So when you boil it all down, after looking at hundreds of studies, the whole idea of sleep hygiene really comes down to these 3 core things. You've got behavioral factors, that's what you do. Environmental factors, that's where you sleep. And an aspect of control, your ability to actually manage all of it. So we're going to tackle each one, and we're starting with your environment. All right, let's dive into that first pillar, your environment. Welcome to Section 3, Crafting Your Perfect Sleep Environment. This is all about the practical, simple things you can do to turn your bedroom into a real sanctuary for sleep.
Okay, here's your checklist. First, make your room as dark as a cave. That blue light from our phones and TVs, it actively shuts down melatonin, which is the hormone that tells your brain, hey, it's time to sleep. Second, keep it cool and keep it quiet. And finally, and this one is so important, practice stimulus control. What that means is your brain needs to build a super strong connection between your bed and one thing only, sleep. That means no working from bed, no arguing in bed, no doom scrolling in bed. Your bed is for rest, period.
Okay, so we've set the stage. Now let's talk about the script. Your daily habits. What you do from the second you wake up has this huge domino effect on how well you sleep later that night.
This slide lays it out perfectly, right? Consistency is your best friend. Try to wake up at the same time every day, yes, even on weekends, because that helps regulate your internal body clock. Get your exercise in, but try not to do it right before bed, because that can raise your body temperature. And notice the advice on alcohol. A lot of people think it helps them sleep, but it is actually one of the absolute biggest sleep disruptors out there. In fact, let's zoom in on the 3 most common sleep saboteurs. Caffeine and nicotine, those are pretty obvious. They're stimulants, they keep your brain buzzing when it should be winding down. But alcohol is the tricky one. It might make you feel drowsy at first, but what it does is it completely wrecks the quality of your sleep later in the night. It actually suppresses the deep, restorative REM sleep stages. And that's exactly why you can sleep for 8 hours after a few drinks and still wake up feeling totally exhausted.
So you've perfected your environment, you've dialed in your daily habits, but what about the biggest roadblock of all? Your own racing mind. That brings us to our final, and maybe most important section, take control of your night.
A wind-down routine is your secret weapon here. Think of it as a buffer zone between your busy, chaotic day and a peaceful night. The goal isn't just to relax, it's actually physiological. As you can see here, these practices, dimming the lights, reading a real book, putting the phone away, they actively tell your body's fight-or-flight system that it's safe. It's time to power down.
Now, we have to be really clear about this. While all these sleep hygiene tips are incredibly powerful, they're not a cure-all for every situation. If you are dealing with persistent insomnia, or if you or your partner suspects something more serious like sleep apnea, the loud snoring and gasping for air, it is absolutely crucial that you go get a professional evaluation from a doctor.
So, let's bring this all home. The health risks of poor sleep, they're really high, and they are wide-ranging. But the most important thing to take away from all this is that you have an incredible amount of control. Using evidence-based sleep hygiene, you can manage your environment, your daily habits, and your own mind to fundamentally change your relationship with sleep. Which brings us to one last, very personal question. Please don't try to change everything all at once. That is a recipe for getting overwhelmed and just giving up. Instead, just look at the toolkit we've talked about. Based on everything we've covered, what is the one small change that you can commit to making tonight?